Alright, last year I did a video on my Game Boy Advance memories video, and at the end of the video I said I wanted to do a whole video on Game Boy Advance video, and in this video it's finally happening. It's time to look back at this Game Boy Advance video feature. So why is it called Game Boy Advance video? Well, it's a type of format for putting full motion videos onto Game Boy Advance. And I'm not gonna lie, this was one of the greatest concepts I've ever heard. Who wants to watch videos on a Game Boy Advance handheld? And while it is, the execution is not. I'll get to that. You see, Game Boy Advance video was competing with other formats, particularly the portable DVD player, but also ones like Video Now and Juicebox, and then later on Sony would do the same with PSP in their own feature. Game Boy Advance video was released in 2004, and yeah, I'm actually doing this for the 20th anniversary. Did not realize it until I looked it up. Anyways, the Game Boy Advance video would continue on until the end, and I did have a Game Boy Advance video. I used to take them in public, like in a car or a doctor's office or something. Those were fun times watching them. There's a few I used to own, but I'll get to the list later. I do want to talk about the commercials. This one has Mike Pollock narrating the commercial and showing these lineup of shows like SpongeBob, Fairly OddParents, Pokemon, Sonic X, etc. And the other commercial has a silhouette of cartoon characters going out and a boy watching in the car. Now, I gotta talk about the criticisms with the Game Boy Advance video, and it's mainly the execution. The Game Boy Advance video does allow to watch shows and movies onto a GBA cartridge. However, the quality is really bad. It has a really bad frame rate with a 240 by 160 resolution. As a kid, it did bother me because I want to watch it in a better quality. Like, I get why the frame rate wouldn't work because the Game Boy Advance cartridges are really small and you can only have around 64 megabytes. Also, the sound is bad too. So yeah, that is the main problem with Game Boy Advance video. Another criticism is not using the Game Boy player accessory used for GameCube because Majesco would prevent people from using the play and record the shows. And yeah, it was a good idea not to use the Game Boy player. But yeah, those are the big issues with the Game Boy Advance video. However, I can't say that the feature is all bad. The best part, besides the concept, is the lineup of TV shows and some movies. It is a great way to watch some episodes of the shows. I say some because they're limited to some episodes and putting them onto the cartridge. But here are the list of shows and movies that were on the Game Boy Advance video. For movies, there's only 3 that they made: Shrek, Shrek 2, and Shark Tale. I heard they came out late, but I already have them on their own format before. I would like to have them, but it's kind of pointless. If you have them individually or the double pack or one of each, hold on to that. It's pretty rare. Let's get to TV shows list, starting with Cartoon Network. There's a bunch of Cartoon Network collections, 6 in total, with shows containing Ed, Edd n Eddy, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Johnny Bravo, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Codenamed Kids Next Door, and Dexter's Laboratory. Also, Codenamed Kids Next Door has its own GBA video pack. I didn't own these since I didn't watch much of Cartoon Network. Moving on to Disney Channel. So far, only 3 have been made, unless you count the Lizzie McGuire game that has a video on there. There are 2 volumes in the Disney Channel collection, and the shows contain Lilo and Stitch's series, Kim Possible, and Brandy and Mr. Whiskers, though it's only available in volume 2. There's also the Proud Family. I would like to add them back then, but I can watch them on Disney+. Moving on to Nickelodeon, and man, there's a lot that they made. First is the Nicktoons collection, with 3 volumes. The shows contain SpongeBob, Fairly OddParents, All Grown Up, Rocket Power, and Danny Phantom. Volume 1 was the one I actually owned. I mean, not a bad choice. I would like to have 2 volumes, but they were rare from what I remembered. Also, this is the only way to watch Rocket Power and Danny Phantom since they didn't have their own collection. Moving on to the individual Nickelodeon stuff, starting with SpongeBob. SpongeBob has like 3 volumes with only 6 episodes, and they're only from Season 1, just like the Volumes collection. I only own Volume 1 of SpongeBob, and while it was nice that I owned a SpongeBob GBA video, I already got a DVD of SpongeBob Season 1 at the time. Yeah, I was like that as a kid. Figure Out Parents has 2 volumes, another one I could have got as a kid because I was a fan of the show. And the last 3 are The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron, All Grown Up, and Dora the Explorer. I would like to get the Jimmy Neutron one, but I already seen the episodes. All Grown Up, I could have since I actually liked the show. And for Dora the Explorer, yeah, I skipped that. Moving on to other shows, starting with Pokemon. And man, there's like 4 volumes in this. Volumes 3 and 4 contain episodes from the Indigo League, with one of them being the first episode. And volumes 1 and 2 contain 3 episodes from Master Quest and 1 from Johto League Champions. And yes, I did own the Pokemon Game Boy Advance video with only volumes 1 and 3. Yeah, I didn't get volumes 2 and 4. Other one-off TV shows are Dragon Ball GT, Sonic X, Strawberry Shortcake, Super Robot Monkey Team Hyper Force Go, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Not gonna lie, I would like to grab Sonic X GBA video since I was starting off to becoming a Sonic fan, but I didn't own it. And I need to watch the show in the future, along with past Sonic cartoons. Yu-Gi-Oh! Was one I really could have gotten. I used to watch that show on Kids WB back in the day. So yeah, those were all the shows and movies that were on Game Boy Advance video. But there were some that were cancelled. There was going to be a Volume 2 for Sonic X, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Yu-Gi-Oh! But didn't happen. There was one show that almost made it to Game Boy Advance video, and that is Kirby Right Back At Ya. How cool would that have been? Kirby is owned by Nintendo. He has his own cartoon that would later dubbed it from 4Kids. But yeah, that's the only show that didn't make it to Game Boy Advance video. I would like to see other shows to get the treatment, like Avatar: The Last Airbender perhaps. But yeah, that's about it for the Game Boy Advance video. I know it's not a good format, but it was a cool concept at the time. I know other formats would later use it, but maybe in the future I could talk about the other formats outside of VHS and DVD. And then there's other YouTube videos about the Game Boy Advance video. This video made by Nintendo is a fun one to check out. That is all for the video. I have a new one coming up next week. I'll find out what I'm working on. I will see you in the next video.